Hi guys, can you keep up? Because I can't. So first the tariffs were pushed as an idea to get money back from Europe as a result of the rebuilding effort post-World War II. Then the tariffs were about levelling the playing field when it came to trade deficits, even though countries that the US had a trade surplus with were still hit. Now it seems the goal of the tariffs is, at least when it comes to Europe, let me check, to eliminate VAT. Now that seems to be the line senior counselor to Trump, Peter Navarro, was pushing when he appeared on Trump-friendly Fox News.
But when the Germans come here,
so what's going to happen when the Germans or the EU comes to the table and say, we'll drop our tariffs? Trump's going to say no deal.
Here's what he's going to say. He's going to say, look, tariffs? Why do you have a 19% VAT tax?
My patience is wearing thin with these people. So the tariff is not the issue. The level playing field is not the issue. It's VAT now. They just keep flooding the zone. Just throw things against the wall and hope that they'll stick. Look, when it comes to VAT, value-added tax, is applied throughout the European Union. On some products it's 19%, in other parts of Europe it's 22%. When goods are imported from the US, VAT has to be applied before and paid before the goods can be released. Now this is not like a tariff, because a tariff is about protecting domestic industry. This is levelling the playing field. Goods produced in the EU have VAT applied to them. In many cases, not all goods, but let's leave that for a moment. And goods imported from the US in many cases have VAT applied to them. So this is about levelling the playing field. And the Trump administration wants to get rid of that. They want to give the US some sort of advantage here. We don't want VAT applied to our exports or the imports into the EU from the US. But if goods produced in the EU have VAT applied to them, then what's the problem with having it applied to US products as well? Once again, I thought this was about trade deficits. I thought this was about retaliatory tariffs. What does Trump actually want?
Why have we sued you for 3 decades trying to get our agriculture and our beef or pork and things like that, and we win cases at the WTO, and you still won't let us do it?
Yeah,
You're
same thing
us.
with China. They completely cheat on all the trade deals. Now, Peter, one of the...
Okay, so the thing about the WTO is, yes, the US has won a number of cases at the WTO, and it was about hormone-treated beef, for example. Now, in 2009, the EU said, okay, we'll allow you to ship some of your beef into the EU. There will be a specific quota for that, but it will be about hormone-free beef, not hormone-treated beef. So the EU have said, look, we're not going to allow you to ship your products into the EU if it damages public health. So they cited public health and safety concerns when it came to the importation of hormone-treated beef. So then an exemption was made for hormone-free beef. So all Donald Trump and farmers in the US have to do is increase their standard. Stop using hormones to treat the beef. Stop injecting these cows with hormones. If you do that and you can certify it, then there's no problem sending the beef to Europe. And of course, respecting the quota. What's the problem there? See, the problem is Donald Trump and people around him don't care about standards. They just want to flood the market with low-quality products. Look, the same can be applied to cars. Donald Trump keeps talking about, why isn't Europe taking our cars? Because there isn't a market for them. It's not so much about tariffs or about protecting the car industry in Europe. It's about the market itself. Any American who's been to Europe realizes within about 5 minutes why those huge trucks that are normally driven in the US are unsuitable for Europe, for small towns and cities in the UK and in Europe. You can't park them, you can't turn them, they consume huge amounts of fuel, they're extremely expensive, and they're completely impractical. There may be quality issues, but that's a separate issue. But there's no demand for these vehicles. You see a few of them around. They are the exception. But generally, Europeans don't want these vehicles, and the Brits don't want them either. So what does Donald Trump hope to achieve by trying to force Europe and the UK to take these vehicles in? Because nobody wants them. And when it comes to hormone-treated beef, European farming doesn't want it. And European consumers don't want it. So we've moved from we need to impose tariffs to recoup some of the lost money, the taxpayer money from post-World War II. Then it was, well, we need to impose tariffs because, well, they're imposing tariffs on us. And now it's, well, VAT. We need to convince the European Union to get rid of VAT altogether, or at least just on imports from the US. Well, that's not going to happen. Donald Trump, if there are any people around him listening to this, Donald Trump needs to convince businesses in the US, farmers, for example, to increase their standards, and then, while respecting the quota, they can export into the EU.